Cashiers of Reddit, what products do you silently judge people for buying? I used to be a cashier and I usually wouldn't care what people bought, unless it was a large quantity of one thing. Pretty suspicious. But there was this one guy I remember who would come in maybe once or twice a week and buy those Trojan Magnum condoms. He'd walk up that the only thing in hand, put it on the counter with the most smug grin you've ever seen. That guy was annoying. He was hitting on one of the other cashiers for the longest time too. I usually didn't judge unless it was ridiculous amounts of junk. My favorite was a customer who bought 2 cases of tuna, a large pack of disposable razors, and a few cans of ladies shaving cream. I was wringing the stuff out and started giggling. He was confused and I asked, "Are you gonna shave a cat?" The guy took a look at his purchases and started laughing so hard he couldn't breathe. Both of us were in tears by the time he was out the door. No one else heard us, so we just looked insane. I don't really judge as much as I try to figure out what you're doing that night. Buying cake mix, sprinkles, pop, chips? Okay, easy, you're having a birthday party. Buying a pack of condoms and a frozen pizza? You're obviously some sort of sex god who lures in victims with delectable food. I wish I had someone like you to assure me I am a sex god when I wank into a condom then throw a shitty frozen pizza in the oven. Doesn't really apply to the question, but I've always wondered why this one older gentleman comes in once a week to buy this one washer that costs 6 cents. Comes in every week at least once to buy this one washer. Why not just buy a bag for a couple bucks and never have to come back to Home Depot again? Just never makes sense to me. Edit, he pays with cash, so no cash back. Years ago, I worked at a drugstore that had a liquor department. One customer has forever stayed with me because she broke my heart. She was older, maybe in her late 60s, early 70s. Always clean and neat, but clearly living on a very restricted income. Very polite as well. She came in every day to buy the exact same thing, with no variation. A pint of the cheapest vodka we had, a can of cat food, and a lottery ticket. After about 6 months of this, I asked after her cat, and she told me she did not have one, that this was cheap and good enough for her to live on. I was floored. To think of this sweet lady eating cat food so she could afford her lottery ticket and vodka, it still messes me up. For me, it was the fat people diets of chips, soda, and cigarettes. I know there is a large portion of Redditors that claim diet has nothing to do with their weight problem. But fuck, in the first 2 years I worked as a cashier, I was amazed about what fat people bought for themselves and their fat kids. As a fat guy trying to lose weight 70 pounds this year, you are why I use the self-checkout when I go grocery shopping. I once had a couple buy a pack of unlubricated Trojans and a container of I can't believe it's not butter, and I could barely keep a straight face ringing them up. I doubt they were related. If they were smart, they would know that oil-based lubricants can break down latex. If they weren't, well, enjoy your not quite butter baby. I served a girl once who only bought 2 items, Tabasco sauce and condoms. I silently hoped that they were not related. I work at the customer service desk and I usually don't ring up many groceries. This one lady, probably in her mid-40s, came up with a bottle of baby oil and put it on the counter. I asked if that was all she was buying, and she asked, "Where is the candy located?" Oh crap, I look like such a pervert. That really made my day. Nothing. 10 seconds after you're gone, I can't remember your face or what you bought. Glad to see this. I worked as a grocery store cashier for years, and I never judge people because I can't remember you the second you start walking away. I'm too busy thinking about how badly I want to leave. When a guy is buying tampons and or pads, I'm silently thinking you are awesome. I had to ask a female employee for help once. I was sent with a piece of paper and the brand and type my ex needed. There are so many kinds, I was a little embarrassed, but that employee told me I was a great guy. Kind of took that feeling away. I used to work at Walmart, and I would get really mad at people who tried to buy superfluous or otherwise obviously not covered things with EBT. You'd hear the same story about how much bullshit EBT coverage was and how much you, the cashier, can go F yourself because you're not willing to violate company and federal policy. There was also the bribes or offers or threats that came with people trying to purchase these things. Anyway, a lot of this changed for me when I saw one young family come into the store once. There was a man and a woman, probably in their mid to late 20s, with a young daughter, around 5 or 6. They came in with an impressive selection of items, lots of fresh and raw vegetables, beans, rice, meats, dairy products, etc. Nothing crazy like candy or soda or chips. Anyway, at the end of all these items is a box of condoms. They looked pretty ashamed when I scanned the box across my register, but hey, I've done it before and I know not to react to seeing that stuff. People have sex and I'm not going to judge them for protecting themselves. All of their items are rung up and I let them know their total, and the EBT card comes out. It passes through for all of the food items, but not the box of condoms. I guess they didn't know it wouldn't be covered for whatever reason. I told them that they had a lingering total because it wasn't all covered by the card. The look of shame and guilt on their face was unbearable, so much that I felt ready to cry myself. They had no money to spare at this point, and knew this wasn't going to happen, and were so embarrassed to be in this position. My manager comes over and asks if everything was okay. The man shakily chimed in and said, "It's nothing, we just didn't bring any cash. You can take that last thing off." I had some spare cash on me and offered to spot them the money. They initially said that wouldn't be necessary, but my manager insisted that, and said assured them I would be compensated. After they left, my manager explained to me that she knew the family. They were friends of hers that she'd known since high school. As it turns out, they had their daughter while in their early 20s, and the husband joined the military to support his family. He did a tour somewhere in the Middle East, and while he was over there, his unit got hit pretty hard. IEDs, rockets, etc. A bunch of the guys he was deployed with were killed in some fight that lasted a few days, and he was injured pretty heavily. He got hit by a bullet or two as well as sharpness from an explosion. After being discharged, he'd been dealing with the fact that he's got a pretty messed up leg for the rest of his life, as well as intense PTSD, and was struggling really hard to find a job. His veteran benefits suck ass, as is expected these days, and the wife is the only one bringing in any kind of real income, but has to work 2 bullshit underpaid jobs in order to just barely get by. It really changes your perspective on things to see that the shitty people who bitch and moan about not being able to buy some stupid bullshit with government aid are afforded the same help as people who are kind and have sacrificed so much yet struggling just to survive. I used to be a grocery store cashier. I would judge people with kids on food stamps that bought no real food, their carts full of soda pop, chips, cookies, etc. No meat, beans, rice, vegetables, fruit, nothing that would be healthy or nourishing for their kids. And not just a one-off thing like maybe they were having a birthday party for their kid. It was always the same people buying the same stuff every week. Worked at Walmart in College Town, had about 9 guys come through together and buy between all of them 3 containers of beer each, 2 boxes of condoms each, and then each guy had 2 boxes of sleeping pills. It was a bad combination to buy all together. My manager ended up pulling the tapes and getting the police involved. I once had a kid, 17ish, who was buying something small, a soda or something. It came out to be like $2.13, and the kid only has $2. Feeling generous, I had a quarter in my pocket and told him I could cover him. So I entered the tender $2.25, 12-cent change, which I put back into my pocket. This mouth breather is standing there with his hand out asking for his change. I had to explain to him that he doesn't get change as he didn't have enough money in the first place. Not a cashier, but when I go to the grocery store, there is one cashier that comments on the price of my coffee every single time. Ah, so expensive, as she thoroughly inspects the package. The last time I finally cracked and said, "You're right, I really need to stop shopping here." 2 guys at a Safeway buying a single cucumber, a box of condoms, and a bottle of Lubriderm looked me dead in the eye and said, "We're not gay." Former McDonald's employee here. I didn't really judge fat people buying a lot of food for themselves. I don't really care after all. However, I judged fat people buying a lot of food to their young fat kids, like a large Big Mac meal for a 7-year-old kid. Always made me kind of sad. Thank you a lot for watching. Like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next video.